Hi everyone. So we are down into our lesson number 2, which is all about the types of curricula in school. So have you realized, class, that in every classroom there are several types of curriculum operating? So this meeting we were going to look into each one type of curricula in school. So still we are guided with the learning outcomes for module 1 or chapter 1, which is at the end of the lesson you are going to discuss the different curricula that exist in the schools. So there are 7 types of curricula, class, in the schools. So the first one is what we called recommended curriculum. So when I say recommended curriculum, class, it almost all of the curricula found in our schools are all recommended. So for basic education, these are recommended by the Department of Education. For higher education, which kita by the Commission of Higher Education or CHED, and vocational technical education by Technical Education Skills Development Authority or TESDA. Then these 3 government agencies oversee and regulate Philippine education. So the recommendations come in the form of memoranda or policy, standards, and guidelines. Other professional organizations or international bodies like UNESCO also recommends curricula in school. So again, class, when we say recommended curriculum, it refers to the different memoranda or policy, standards, and guidelines that are recommended from the different educational agencies. Then the second type of curricula is what we call written curriculum. So this includes documents based on the recommended curriculum. So they come in the form of course of study, syllabi, modules like what you have right now, books, instructional guides, among others. And a packet of this written curriculum is the teacher's lesson plan. And the most recent written curriculum is the K-12 for Philippine basic education. Diba? We are changed from um, basic education curriculum or BEC to EBEC or what we called K-12 enhanced basic education curriculum. Okay, so that is written curriculum. And the third types of curriculum is what we call the taught curriculum. So we see taught curriculum. From what has been written or planned, the curriculum has to be implemented or taught. So what we have observed in our daily teaching learning process, it is what we call taught curriculum. So the teacher and the learners will put life to the written curriculum. The skill of the teacher to facilitate learning based on the written curriculum with the aid of instructional materials and facilities will be necessary. So the taught curriculum will depend largely on the teaching style of the teacher and the learning style of the learners. So when I say taught curriculum, class, it is the overall interaction of teachers and learners in everyday classroom setting. Okay? Then the fourth type of curriculum is what we call supported curriculum. So when we say supported curriculum, class, it is described as a support materials that the teacher needs to make learning and teaching meaningful. So these include print materials like books, mga libro, charts, posters, worksheets, or non-print materials like PowerPoint presentation, movies, slides, models, realias, mock-ups, and other electronic illustrations that I have here in our PowerPoint presentation. So, supported curriculum also includes facilities. So, it does not only include the different materials or teaching materials like books and etc., but it also includes different facilities that we have in our classroom or in schools where learning occurs outside or inside the four-walled building. So this include playground, science laboratory, audiovisual rooms, zoo, museum, market, or the plaza. So these are the places where authentic learning through direct experiences occur. Because from the word support, it support the curriculum. So it refers to the different materials and places that support the teaching learning process. Then the fifth type of curriculum is what we call assessed curriculum. So taught and supported curricula have to evaluated or to be evaluated rather to find out if the teacher has succeeded or not in facilitating learning, 'di ba? In your assessment learning one, you have the different types of assessment. The diagnostic, which is happening before the start of the lesson to assess the strength and weaknesses of the students. And the second type of assessment is what we call formative. So it happens during the instruction or the lesson, in the process of oral recitation and so on and so forth. Then the last type of assessment is what we call diagnostic, that will be happen at the end of the lesson or unit, and it is recorded, unlike with the diagnostic and formative. So in the process of teaching and end of every lesson, as what I've said a while ago, or teaching episode, an assessment is made, and this is what we call summative assessment. So it can either be assessment for learning, which is formative, assessment as learning, or assessment of learning, which is summative. So if the process is to find the progress of learning, then the assessed curriculum is for learning, which is formative. It should not be recorded. But if it is to find out how much has been learned or mastered, then it is assessment of learning, which is also called summative assessment. So in either way, such curriculum is the assessed curriculum. So that is assessed curriculum as one of the types of curricula in schools. Then the sixth types of curricula is what we call the learned curriculum. So when we say learned curriculum class, how do we know if the student has learned? We always believe that if a student change in behavior, he or she has learned. So for example, from a non-reader to a reader, like what I have here in our presentation. Then, from not knowing to knowing, or from being disobedient to being obedient. So the positive outcome of teaching is an indicator of learning. So when we say that the students are learning, there is a change of the behavior. So these are measured by the tools in assessment, which can indicate the cognitive, affective, and psychomotor outcomes. So learned curriculum will also demonstrate higher order or the HOTS and critical thinking and lifelong skills. Okay? Then the last type of curricula class is what we call the hidden or implicit curriculum. So we see hidden class or implicit curriculum. This curriculum is not deliberately planned but has a great impact on the behavior of the learner. So unlike with the first six types of curricula class, this hidden or implicit rather curriculum is not deliberately planned. Wala dyan ni siya giplano class, unlike sa recommended, written, taught, supported, assessed, and learned. But it has a great impact on the behavior of the learner. So an example of this are the peer influence, school environment, media, parental pressure, societal changes, cultural practices, natural calamities are some of the factors that create the hidden curriculum. Teachers should be sensitive and aware of this hidden curriculum. So teachers must have good foresight to include this in the written curriculum in order to bring to the surface what are hidden. So as a summary class, in every teacher's classroom, not all of this curricula may be present at one time. So in everyday setting, in the teaching learning process, please don't expect class that once you're a licensed professional teacher, nga kanijong 7 ka types of curricula will be present every day. But this will be present at one time. Then, many of them are deliberately planned, so as what I've said earlier, like the recommended, written, taught, supported, assessed, and learned, but except for the hidden. However, a hidden curriculum is implied. So, we're going to use this in our real life situations, and a teacher may or may not be able to predict its influence on learning. So all of these have significant part on the life of the teacher, of course, because as teachers, we are facilitators of learning, and we are the ones who will use these different types of curricula and also have the direct implication to the life of the learners. So now that you are all fully aware that there are 7 types of curricula operating in every teacher's classroom, then it is then very necessary to learn deeper and broader about the role of the teacher in relation to the curriculum. So by next meeting, we will have our next lesson, which is all about the teacher as a curricularist, or what are the different roles of teachers as curricularists. So I hope everything is clear in this lesson, class, and I hope you learned something out of this lesson. So see you on next meeting. Goodbye and God bless.